Okay, so before the religious fanatics came and swept the nation, the Indians were living in villages with polyandry and polygamy going on. There was some monogamy ceremonial activities occurring as well. However, the new order, should I say, established a way of life that emphasized monogamy to the point where the enraged, jealous individual said, my wife, my husband, no one can touch, and that's the way that it is. We're going to have big ceremonies behind it, and we're going to make sure that this is established because we've determined that the way for a child to grow up in a good way is they need both parents inside of the household. Now, I'm an astrologer, right? And I can tell you from reading countless charts that those situations are not in these people's charts. Like it just doesn't work that way. This is a man-made law because of the insecurity of man, the jealousy of man, the envy of man, the inability to understand that, like in some tribal regions, that some women, and this is real shit, some women would actually sleep with like 3 different men at the time that they conceive the child, and once the child is born, they would determine those 3 different men to be that child's father, regardless if only one of their seed created the child. This is how the women thought. And however you take that right now is up to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you how to respond to that. I'm just telling you what used to be, and still does exist in different areas of the world. But this man-made thing that I'm talking about, when it came into law being established, is the different thing. Like, it's different when you have tribal law or something that happens organically and you define it through some type of story or whatever the case may be, or it becomes a tradition or way of life, in contrast to when you mandate it or you stipulate it as an act of law, right? So marriage becomes this law now that says it's you and that person together forever until you determine otherwise, that you just can't make it anymore, right? And then some of them have some types of alterations in the contract or whatever the case may be. And in some instances, you can actually make a binding contract that states, should we separate, what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine. See, here's what happens. The elite, or the upper echelon, or the established middle class, should I say, right, at this time, when they solidified this whole thing, they realized that when the industrial era came through, that they were going to have a workforce. And in order to have a workforce, you need people. So what happened is the colonization and the segregation of areas concentrated certain areas with populated people who were impoverished. So the incentive was created through social programs. The incentive to say, okay, we'll finance a lifestyle for you because we want you to breed. Of course, they didn't say it in those words, but that was the intent. We need them to breed so we can have a workforce. It's not that we value you, but we value you in arm's distance, is pretty much what I'm saying. You got to live in these neighborhoods, but we want your children, is what the whole order was. So the incentives came out and said, okay, we'll incentivize you. And I'm not saying that the government coerced these women to make the decisions that they made. However, they did give them an ultimatum that says, okay, you receive more benefits should the man be removed from this equation. Meaning, like a scenario, if a child is born and the man's name is not on the birth certificate, the woman gets allocated a fatter welfare check. You get what I'm saying? So these types of scenarios expand throughout the different social programs that are afforded through the system. Okay, so what would you do if you were a woman? Now, I'm not saying all women are going to do that. Some women would rather say, you know what? I want my child's father in the household. I want my child to grow up with a father, with his father, and I want him to know both parents in the household, stuff like that. Despite the funds being cut low. Then you have other types of women who are like, damn, should I go into this contract with the government with my man? Then this man knows all of my business. He knows, well, it's all of our business, mind you, right? Because the government knows about him too at this point. So he knows how much finances is coming in. Not only that, he's always around. If he's working or whether he's not working, he's going to be around a substantial amount of time to be able to track the whereabouts and the movements of that woman. Some women want freedom along the lines, right? Some women just get together like Fifth House, right? Fifth House is all about fun. Fifth House is the house of children. Fifth House is all about fun, romance, dating, creativity, create a child. All of that's the fun part. The after effect, though, no one can be the wiser unless you're like an astrologer and you read natal charts, how I began the video. You understand what the lesson is? It contradicts, or should I say it conflicts with the mandate of marriage being law, because that mandate suggests, oh, we need to stay together forever for the sake of the child and the sake of family, right? So you get where I'm going with this, right? And this is totally unbiased. Like, this is just the logistics of the universe, and I'm telling you the logistics of man-made functional systems, dysfunctional as well. So, the ultimatum is given to these women for them to decide. They make their choice, right? So this even expands when it comes to housing. Like for domestic shelters, women in domestic shelters get housing at the snap of a finger. You understand what I'm talking about? So do you think a woman would instigate an argument with their baby father in order to make something happen for them? Think about it. If you think that you can't put stuff past people, is pretty much what I'm saying. I'm not saying all women are like that, but I'm just saying it can be done that way as a hustle to remove the man from the house. Next thing you know, she got a domestic violence shelter. She's in there. She's only there for 3 weeks. They get her out, brand new apartment. Boom. Guess what? The man can't come over there no more. Man removed from the equation of housing now. So now you got the housing incentive, right? Man doesn't belong there anymore. Father removed from the household. And then you got other social welfare programs, which is food stamps for the child, right? Now you're getting food for the child. This WIC program, which is basically states that you can go to the supermarkets and pick up foods that are specifically tailored to children, and as long as you got the documents to get them. Okay, there's pantries all over the place. Speaking for New York, but I'm pretty sure other cities and states have this, just maybe not at the extent that New York has it. And this is why everybody wants to come here, mind you. But there's the WIC, you got that, and then there's a child care stipend given from welfare in case this woman is capable and still wants to embark on a career, might want to go get up something part-time or whatever, so she can still be a mother, have time to be a mother. Child care stipend is provided by welfare. Welfare will pay your rent. So in a situation where maybe it's not a domestic violence shelter, like if you go to the office and tell them that you need your rent paid, they'll pay your rent. So, and like I said before, when the man is not there, it's more money. What other programs are there? So pretty much, okay, and if the woman is not capable, or she deems herself incapable and says that she's disabled, she can also get a check for that, which goes in the hundreds. Some reach almost the thousands, right? So if you were to tally up all of these monies that I just named from these different types of social programs, and you came up with a number, ask yourself a legitimate question. Is this enough money to take care of the woman and that child or those children? Is it? I mean, legitimately. And I'm not talking about trips to Great Adventure and stuff like that. Like, that's what the opportunity of getting a job would be. And not for nothing, even if you get a disability check, you could probably squeeze something like that in there. But if you're disabled, right? You shouldn't be doing loops on a roller coaster. But I digressed a bit. My point is, all of these social programs are affording this woman and this child or these children with a lifestyle. And it is done because or it is done with the man being removed from that equation. Now, all I'm asking is to justify y'all, right? And for the listeners and everyone, and get in the comment box. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. What I'm asking is to justify why the woman would need an additional check. Why does the government have to go track men down who created these babies, and in some states didn't even create these children, to extract wealth from them to give to these women as well? What justifies it? Right? Because what doesn't it defeat the purpose of the public assisting this woman in her trials, tribulations, or whatever the case may be, in the rearing of a child and children? That's what the programs are for, right? And it's documented that the man is not there, the man is not around, because if the man was around, they would not be getting this type of money. So my theory is that if the social programs were removed from the equation, or at least limited to where the father was still in the household, a lot of these women would say, you know what, it's cheaper to keep my baby daddy, because they're not giving me this, they're not giving me that, they're not giving me this, not giving me that, because my baby father's around. You understand what I'm saying? But if those monies increase because of the removal of the father, I think it defeats the whole purpose, because to my understanding, it's over at that point. The man is out of the house. The man is out of the house. They are no longer together. So what the government did was they did a reversal marriage by incentivizing the woman to breed with the man for the child, to build the workforce, and then later on in life, track down that man and extract wealth from him and possibly bring him into poverty again or as well. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just, that is detrimental to the building of wealth, to the building of society. What justifies this additional income? And again, you know, this is all unbiased. Tally up the amount of money that is spent on these social programs for an individual. And this mother can't call themselves, these mothers can't call themselves single mothers anymore at this point, because they have the whole nation backing them. Child care services, programs that can direct them to where jobs are, whether they're temp agencies or not, like food programs. Like, you got the whole nation backing you. You're not single. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and in some instances, right, let's get back to astrology, because I want to keep this unbiased. Let's get back to astrology. The 8th house is about joint resources, life after marriage, spousal support, child support, right? So, again, if we have made it clear and substantiated through law, through government, that this man is no longer part of the equation, that means the 8th house is complete. 8th house is also about death and transformation, meaning it is the end of a cycle to renew and to birth something anew, right? So the death comes in the end of the relationship between those two individuals. And then the man, you know, I guess reaches a higher state of mind or develops an ethical standard that is different from what he used to abide by. And you may say, okay, well, the men are getting away with being able to leave. And I'll tell you, you know, I know plenty of situations where the women got up and left. Like, the women left with their child, or kicked the man out, like I was speaking about before, and was like, yo, you can't stay here no more. I'd like if you not come around here no more. I'm going to call the police, pretty much, right? Oh, I want to see my child. Call the police, restraining order. Now you legally can't see your child. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not the cliche scenario that is advertised to you, like all dads are deadbeat dads. They don't want to see their children and stuff like that, or they don't want to pay for their children. This video was primarily for the taxpayers who pay 1% of GDP to welfare. By the way, I don't like when people get online and they be like, oh, they need to stop paying my tax dollars on this, that, and the third. It's 1%, mama. Hold your tits. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, this video is primarily for you as well, all of us included, but definitely for you to ask and raise these questions. What is all of the money for if you're still going to go extract wealth from the betterment of society? These men could grow up to be entrepreneurs, large CEOs, and things of that nature to produce more wealth.